The heart monitor screamed, a single endless tone that pierced through the 73rd floor of Sterling Tower like a knife through silk. 200 people froze. Champagne glasses stopped halfway to painted lips. Conversations died mid-sentence. On the stage, under lights bright enough to bleach bone, Victoria Sterling fell, 32 years old, chief executive officer. Blonde hair that cost $400 every 6 weeks, now spilling across marble floors. Her company paid $3 million to import from Carrara. White Chanel suit, $12,000, crumpling like tissue paper. Her hand clawed at her chest, fingers spread wide, grasping at something invisible, something crushing her from the inside. Blood appeared at the corner of her mouth where she bit through her lip. Her eyes ice blue, always so controlled, now wild with terror. She was dying. The fall seemed to happen in slow motion, knees buckling first, then the sideways tilt. The impact when her shoulder hit the stage sent a crack through the microphone that made half the room wince. Her red-soled Louboutin heels, $1,100, scraped against the floor as her legs kicked once, twice, then went still. Someone screamed. Then everyone was screaming. Bodies surged forward. Chairs scraped. A glass shattered. The carefully orchestrated presentation about Cardio Revive, the miracle heart drug that was supposed to make Sterling Industries $2 billion, dissolved into chaos. Dr. Philip Chen, 62, chief medical officer, 20 years at Mount Sinai before Victoria hired him, pushed through the crowd. His hands shook as he knelt beside her, pressed 2 fingers to her throat. Her pulse hammered, irregular and frantic under his touch. "Call 911, he shouted, a young executive, fresh from Wharton, fumbling with her phone. "Yes, we need an ambulance. Sterling Tower, 70th floor, the CEO, I think it's a heart attack." The dispatcher's voice crackled through. 18 minutes to your location. Dr. Chen's face went white. 18 minutes. Victoria Sterling didn't have 18 minutes. He positioned his hands over her sternum, lacing his fingers together the way he'd been taught 30 years ago, preparing to compress, to force her heart to beat when it no longer wanted to. "Stop." The voice came from the back of the room. Every head turned. In the corner, by the service door, where the cleaning cart waited in shadow, a man in a blue janitor's uniform stepped forward. 6'1", 35 years old, black skin that caught the harsh overhead lights, hands that hung at his sides, large and scarred. Marcus Reed. He'd been invisible for 6 hours, mopping floors while executives stepped over his work, emptying trash cans full of half-eaten canapes that cost more than his daughter's school lunch for a month. Standing in corners while people who'd never learned his name discussed market projections and stock options. Now 200 pairs of eyes locked onto him. "Sir, step back," Dr. Chen snapped. "This is a medical emergency." Marcus walked forward. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. People parted without thinking, creating a path from the service door to the stage. "If you compress her chest right now," Marcus said, his voice steady, trained, "you'll kill her." Security guards appeared. 2 men in black suits, hands moving toward their belts. But Dr. Chen hesitated, something in the janitor's voice, something that sounded like knowledge. "She's not in cardiac arrest," Marcus continued. He was 10 feet from the stage now, close enough that everyone could see his face. "Her heart is beating, 140 times per minute, irregular. Look at her neck." Dr. Chen looked. "You see the jugular vein?" Marcus pointed without touching. "It's distended, 8 centimeters above the sternal angle. Classic sign of right heart failure." A man in the audience stood up. Dr. Robert Thompson, 68, cardiology professor at Columbia for 30 years. "He's right," Thompson said, his voice carrying. "I can see it from here." Marcus climbed the 3 steps to the stage, knelt beside Victoria, his knees, worn thin from hours of scrubbing floors, pressed against the cold marble. "If you do chest compressions," he said, looking at Chen, "you'll rupture her ventricle. She's in acute decompensated heart failure, not arrest. The pressure in her chest is already critical." Victoria's hand moved, weak, trembling. Her fingers searched the air like a blind woman reaching for light. Her eyes, glazed with pain, found Marcus's face. She recognized him. After 4 years of walking past him in hallways, 4 years of never seeing the man who mopped her floors. 4 years of not knowing that the janitor in the corner was the doctor she'd destroyed. She knew him now. Her lips moved, blood on her teeth, voice barely a whisper. Marcus. The room gasped, a collective intake of breath from 200 throats. Please, Victoria whispered. Tears cut through her makeup, leaving tracks like wounds. Please make it fast. Make it fast. Not save me, not help me. Make it fast. She thought he would kill her. Thought that after everything she'd done, this was justice. The man she'd ruined, standing over her with hands that could stop her heart as easily as restart it. Marcus looked down at her, this woman who'd taken his medical license, his career, his wife, his life. 4 years of humiliation. 4 years of being invisible. 4 years of watching her walk through the building she'd stolen from him, head high, untouchable. She was begging him now. The oath he'd taken 30 years ago echoed in his mind. First, do no harm. Words carved into his soul deeper than any scar. He stripped off his rubber gloves, the yellow ones that smelled like ammonia. Let them fall to the floor. His hands, rough and calloused from cleaning chemicals, scarred from years of work that should have been beneath him, reached for her throat. Everyone held their breath. Marcus placed 2 fingers on Victoria's carotid artery. Gentle, professional, the touch of a surgeon. Give me space, he said quietly. 3 feet of clearance. Everyone back. No one moved. Marcus looked up. His eyes swept the crowd with an authority that made board members and billionaires step backward without question. Someone tell the ambulance this is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy with acute heart failure. They need to bring IV, furosemide, and nitroglycerin, and I need complete silence. Dr. Chen stared at the janitor, at the way his hands moved, at the calm in his voice. Who are you? Chen whispered. Marcus didn't answer. His fingers were already counting Victoria's pulse against the second hand of his watch. A watch from Walmart, $15, keeping time as precisely as any Rolex. His hands began to move, and the entire room went silent. Dawn broke over the Bronx like a promise no one believed anymore. Marcus Reed's alarm went off at 5:45, not 5:30, not 6 o'clock. 5:45 exactly, because that was how long it took to get Maya ready for school and still catch the 6:50 bus to Manhattan. He didn't hit snooze, couldn't afford to. Every minute mattered when you were holding together a life with duct tape and prayer. His bedroom was small, walls thin enough that he could hear Mrs. Rodriguez's television through them, playing telenovelas at volume meant for the hearing impaired. The furniture was secondhand. Dresser from Goodwill, $40. Bed frame from a curb on bulk trash day, free. But the sheets were clean. The room was organized. Pride didn't cost money. On his nightstand, a photo in a simple frame. Sarah Reed, 27 years old, frozen in time forever. Nurse scrubs, smile that could light up an emergency room at 3 in the morning. Eyes that had seen Marcus at his worst and loved him anyway. Gone 3 years now. Every morning, Marcus touched the frame, just his fingertips against the glass. A ritual, a remembering. I'm trying, baby, he whispered to the photo. I'm still trying. The kitchen was barely big enough for one person, let alone the life Marcus tried to build there. Stove with 2 working burners, refrigerator that hummed too loud and froze the lettuce, counter space measured in inches. But Marcus made it work. Eggs, toast, sliced apple arranged in a smile on a pink plastic plate, orange juice in a cup with princesses on it. Lunch packed in the unicorn lunchbox that Maya had begged for. That cost $23 Marcus didn't have, but spent anyway because some things mattered more than his bank account. He wrote a note on a napkin with a marker that was running out of ink. Love you, princess. Be brave today. Dad. He stuck it in the lunchbox next to the peanut butter sandwich. Down the hall, Maya's room. Smaller than Marcus's, just big enough for a twin bed and a dresser. But the walls were covered with her artwork. Crayon drawings of families with everyone holding hands. Watercolor rainbows. A portrait of Sarah that Maya had drawn from memory, getting her mother's smile almost perfect. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching his daughter sleep, 7 years old. All elbows and knees and natural hair that took Marcus an hour to braid each morning. She clutched a teddy bear that used to be Sarah's. worn thin in places, one eye hanging by a thread Marcus kept meaning to fix. "Morning, baby girl," he said softly. Maya stirred, buried her face deeper in the pillow. "5 more minutes, Daddy." "School doesn't wait for sleepyheads. School is dumb." Marcus sat on the edge of her bed. The mattress dipped under his weight. "What happened to my girl who loves Ms. Anderson's class?" Maya opened one eye. "Tommy called me poor." The words hit Marcus in the chest, quiet, devastating. "What did you say back?" he asked. "Nothing, I didn't know what to say." Marcus lifted her chin with one gentle finger. "Look at me, Maya. We're not poor. We have food. We have a home. We have each other. Tommy's parents have money. That's different. But you used to be a doctor. Tommy's mom said she saw your picture in an old magazine. She said you used to be famous. Why did you stop? How do you explain to a 7-year-old that someone lied about you? That the world believed the lies? That sometimes justice doesn't come?" "Life changed our plans," Marcus said. "But it didn't change who I am or who you are. You're Maya Reed, daughter of Sarah Reed, the best nurse in New York. And you're brave and kind and smart. That's worth more than money." Maya hugged him, small arms that barely reached around his shoulders. "I miss Mommy," she whispered. "Me too, baby. Every single day." They stayed like that for a moment, father and daughter, holding each other against a world that didn't care. Then Marcus stood. "Come on, hair time." In the bathroom, Marcus worked with practiced efficiency, detangling spray, wide-tooth comb, small sections twisted and braided. His hands moved with a precision that had nothing to do with janitorial work and everything to do with surgery. Muscle memory, the fingers that had once held beating hearts now braided a little girl's hair. Maya sat on the closed toilet lid, patient. She'd learned early that fidgeting made it take longer. "Daddy, can you do the twist braid Mommy used to do?" Marcus's hands paused. Just for a second, Sarah's special braid, the one she taught him during her pregnancy, saying, "You'll need to know this when I'm too tired." They'd never imagined he'd need to know it because she was gone. "Of course, princess." His hands remembered, even when his heart didn't want to. At 7:15, they sat at the kitchen table. Maya ate her eggs, and Marcus drank coffee that tasted like regret. Black, no sugar, couldn't afford either the cream or the calories. "Daddy, what's philanthropist?" Maya struggled with the word, her homework sheet spread next to her plate. "Someone who helps people with their money." "Like how you help people?" Marcus smiled, sad. "I help different ways, baby." "At your cleaning job?" "Everywhere. You don't need money to help people. You just need to care." Maya considered this, chewing her toast. "Is Ms. Sterling a philanthropist?" The name sent ice water through Marcus's veins. "Why do you ask?" "She's on my homework. Says she donated money to schools." Victoria Sterling, donor, philanthropist, hero. The woman who'd forged emails, paid witnesses to lie, destroyed evidence, ruined Marcus's career so thoroughly that medical boards in all 50 states rejected his license appeals. "Finish your breakfast," Marcus said. At 7:45, they walked to PS 142. 6 blocks, Maya's hand in his, the morning sun cutting through buildings like knives. Other parents waited at the school gate. Designer clothes? Cars that cost more than Marcus made in 5 years. They glanced at his janitor uniform, the Sterling Industries logo on his chest, looked away quickly, pulled their children a little closer. Marcus felt it every time. The judgment, the assumption, the way people decided who you were based on what you wore. Maya felt it too. He could tell by the way she squeezed his hand tighter. At the gate, Marcus knelt down, eye level with his daughter. "Remember what Mommy always said? Be brave, be kind, be myself," Maya recited. "That's my girl." They did their special handshake. The one Sarah had invented. Fist bump, explosion, heart touch. Maya ran toward her classroom, turned back once, waved. Marcus waved back, watched until she disappeared inside. Then he stood alone on the sidewalk, surrounded by parents who'd never speak to him, wearing a uniform that announced his failure to everyone who saw it. He pulled out his phone, checked his bank account. $173 until next payday, rent due in 8 days, $520. He'd be short. Again. His hand touched his pocket, the small tissue-wrapped bundle he carried everywhere. The ring. He didn't take it out, not here, not where people could see, but he felt its weight, reminder of who he'd been, who he still was, underneath the uniform and the shame. The 6:50 bus was already at the stop. Marcus ran, made it just as the doors were closing. Inside, he found a seat in the back, next to an old woman with grocery bags. She didn't speak to him. No one ever did. Manhattan rose ahead of him, glass towers catching the morning light, Sterling Tower among them. 73 stories of steel and ambition. The building where Victoria Sterling would announce her miracle drug tonight. The building where Marcus Reed cleaned toilets. He closed his eyes and tried not to think about the irony. 4 years ago, Marcus Reed stood in the operating room at Mount Sinai Hospital wearing a white coat with his name embroidered on the chest. Dr. Marcus Reed, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery. The patient on the table was 67, retired firefighter, aortic valve replacement. Routine. Marcus had done 200 of them. Scalpel, he said, his voice steady, calm. The nurse placed it in his hand. Perfect weight, perfect balance. Marcus made his incision. Clean, precise. 7 centimeters. Not a millimeter more than necessary. Suction. The surgical resident, a kid from Yale who thought he knew everything, obeyed instantly. In Marcus's operating room, everyone obeyed. 3 hours later, Marcus stepped back from the table. Close him up. He'll be fine. The anesthesiologist checked the monitors. Heart rhythm stable. Blood pressure normalizing. Beautiful work, Dr. Reed. In the scrub room, Marcus washed his hands. Methodical. Thorough. The ritual of cleansing. His phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Another life saved. So proud of you. Come home safe. I love you. He smiled. Typed back with wet fingers. Always. Love you too. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Reed, you have a visitor. In your office. She says it's urgent. Marcus dried his hands, pulled off his surgical cap. His office was on the 10th floor, windows overlooking the East River, desk that had belonged to his mentor. Photos of patients who'd sent thank you cards, who'd invited him to their children's weddings, who'd named their grandchildren after him. 1,847 lives saved, a number he tracked not out of ego, but out of gratitude that he'd been given hands that could do this work. Victoria Sterling sat in his visitor's chair, 28 years old, already vice president of research and development at Sterling Industries. Blonde hair pulled back, severe. Suit that probably cost $3,000, eyes like blue ice. Ms. Sterling, Marcus said, I'm sorry, I didn't know we had an appointment. We don't. She stood, extended her hand. I won't take much of your time, doctor. I know you're busy. Her handshake was firm, practiced. The grip of someone who'd learned that power was performed. I'm here to make you an offer. She opened a briefcase, pulled out a contract, set it on his desk. Sterling Industries is developing Cardio Revive, a revolutionary treatment for heart disease. We've completed animal trials. FDA approval for human testing is 6 months away. We need a chief medical consultant, someone with your reputation, your skill. Marcus glanced at the contract. The number on the salary line made his breath catch. $500,000 a year, plus equity, plus bonuses, plus benefits that included a car, housing allowance, conference budget. He could pay off Sarah's student loans, buy Maya anything she wanted, save for college, take vacations, live without the constant low-grade panic of bills and broken appliances and unexpected expenses. He read further, stopped at Clause 17. This gives Sterling Industries complete ownership of any research I conduct, he said slowly. Any innovations, any techniques, even work I do independently, outside company hours, becomes your property. Standard non-compete language, Victoria said. We're investing in you. We need to protect that investment. Marcus looked up at her. I have my own research, years of work on valve repair techniques. I'm close to publication. This clause would mean giving that to you. We'd compensate you fairly. It's not about compensation, it's my work, my discovery. Victoria's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind her eyes, something cold. Dr. Reed, do you understand what I'm offering? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, partnership with the most innovative pharmaceutical company in America. Your name on a drug that could save millions, wealth beyond what most surgeons ever achieve. Marcus closed the contract, slid it back across his desk. I appreciate the offer, Ms. Sterling, but my research isn't for sale, and neither am I. The silence stretched, thin, dangerous. Victoria picked up the contract, slowly, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the folder. People usually don't say no to me, she said quietly. I'm sorry, but I have to. She stood, smoothed her skirt. When she looked at him again, her face was a mask. I respect your principles, Dr. Reed. I hope they keep you warm at night. She left. Marcus didn't think about it again. He had surgeries, patients, a wife who was 8 months pregnant. Life moved forward. 2 weeks later, the email started. Anonymous tips to the Medical Ethics Board. Dr. Marcus Reed accepting bribes from Sterling Industries competitors. Falsifying research data. Stealing proprietary information to sell to the highest bidder. Marcus laughed when he first heard. Absurd, easily disproved, except the proof kept appearing. Bank transfers to his account. $200,000. Marcus didn't make them, didn't authorize them. But there they were, digital records that looked ironclad, emails allegedly from his address, offering to sell Sterling's research to competitors. Marcus never sent them, but his digital fingerprints were all over them. Witnesses. 2 Sterling employees who swore under oath that they'd seen Dr. Reed in meetings with competitor representatives, who testified that he'd showed them confidential documents. Marcus hired lawyers, spent his savings proving it was all false. But Victoria Sterling had been thorough. The medical board hearing lasted 3 days. Marcus sat in a conference room with fluorescent lights that hummed and gave him headaches. His lawyer presented evidence, character witnesses, 2 decades of spotless, ethical record. Victoria testified on the second day. She wore navy, conservative, respectful. She spoke clearly, calmly, with the authority of someone who'd never lied in her life. Dr. Reed approached me 6 months ago, she said. He wanted to be our chief medical consultant. I was intrigued. His reputation was impressive. But during negotiations, he became aggressive, demanding. He wanted unrestricted access to all our research. When I refused, he threatened to go to our competitors. That's a lie, Marcus said, half standing. His lawyer pulled him down. Victoria continued. I have emails, bank records, witnesses. I wish I didn't. I wanted to believe Dr. Reed was the man his reputation suggested, but the evidence is overwhelming. The board deliberated for 40 minutes. When they returned, the chairwoman wouldn't meet Marcus's eyes. Dr. Marcus Reed, we find the allegations credible. Your medical license is revoked, effective immediately. You are barred from practicing medicine in the state of New York. Other states will be notified. Marcus heard the words through cotton, through fog. Sarah wept beside him. Across the room, Victoria Sterling stood, collected her briefcase. For just a moment, her eyes met Marcus's. Cold satisfaction. She'd destroyed him, and she'd won. The next year was a spiral. Marcus fought the ruling, appeal after appeal. Each one cost money they didn't have. Sarah worked double shifts at Lenox Hill Hospital, trying to keep them afloat. She was driving home from one of those shifts when she fell asleep at the wheel. The funeral was small. Rain fell the entire time. Maya, 4 years old, clutching Marcus's hand, asking when Mommy would wake up. Marcus stood at Sarah's grave holding their daughter, his career gone, his wife gone, everything gone. And somewhere in Manhattan, Victoria Sterling was probably having lunch. Sterling Tower rose 73 stories above Madison Avenue, all glass and steel and arrogance. The lobby was marble and chrome, a fountain in the center that cost more than most people's houses. Marcus entered through the service entrance. The employee locker room was in the basement. No windows, flickering fluorescent lights, lockers that smelled like industrial cleaner and broken dreams. Marcus changed into his uniform, blue shirt, blue pants, name tag that said M. Reed, no doctor, no credentials. Just a name that meant nothing to anyone. He opened his locker. Inside, taped to the door, was a photo. Sarah in her nurse scrubs, Maya as a baby, the three of them together back when life made sense. "Morning, Marcus." Jimmy Washington stood at the locker beside his. 55 years old, black man who'd been cleaning Sterling Tower for 12 years. Good man. Kind eyes. "Morning, Jimmy. You got 70th floor today. Big presentation tonight. Board meeting. They want everything perfect." Marcus nodded. "I heard. That Sterling woman gonna be there. Cold piece of work, that one." Marcus said nothing. Closed his locker. Locked it. "Marcus, man." Jimmy hesitated. "I know you don't like talking about it, but people say you used to be something. Before. That you had another life. Ancient history. Still, can't be easy. Working here. After." Marcus looked at Jimmy, this man who'd never hurt anyone, who cleaned offices for $15 an hour, who understood what it meant to be invisible. "Bills don't pay themselves," Marcus said quietly. "Maya needs to eat. She's lucky, having a daddy who loves her that much." Marcus felt something crack in his chest, gratitude, pain, the strange mix of emotions that came from being seen as a father when the world saw him as nothing. "Thanks, Jimmy." The shift supervisor appeared, Frank Dominguez, 50 years old. White guy with a gut and an attitude. He looked at Marcus the way people looked at trash they had to take out. "Reed, you're late." Marcus checked his watch. 7:58. His shift started at 8. "It's not 8 yet. When I say you're late, you're late. Get up there. 70th floor needs to be spotless by 6. Board members going to be walking those halls. I don't want them seeing, keep your head down. Stay invisible. Don't talk to anyone important." Anyone important. Marcus picked up his cleaning cart. Supplies that cost the company probably $6. His labor that earned them clean floors. He was invisible here. That was the point. No one looked at janitors. No one saw them. They could stand 3 feet away and might as well be ghosts. It was perfect camouflage for a man who used to save lives. The elevator to the 70th floor was freight, industrial, smelled like the morning's garbage run. Marcus rode alone, watching the numbers climb. When the doors opened, he pushed his cart into luxury, thick carpet that cost $400 per square foot, art on the walls, original paintings, floor-to-ceiling windows showing Manhattan spread out below like a promised land for people who'd never have to clean toilets. The conference room where tonight's presentation would happen was at the end of the hall. Glass walls, table that could seat 30, screen for presentations. Bars stocked with liquor that cost more per bottle than Marcus made in a week. Workers were setting up, banner across the back wall. "Cardio Revive, the future of cardiac medicine." Marcus stopped, stared at those words. Cardiac medicine. His specialty, his passion, his life's work. Reduced to a marketing slogan for a company that didn't care about anything except profit margins. "Excuse me, you're blocking the door." A woman in an expensive suit, Victoria's assistant, Jennifer something. She looked at Marcus like he was furniture. "Sorry," he muttered. Moved his cart. She swept past without acknowledgement. Marcus began his work, mopping floors, emptying trash, polishing surfaces, the same work he did every day, the work that paid for Maya's food and kept a roof over their heads. 2 executives walked past, young guys, 30-something, Ivy League haircuts and suits that cost more than Marcus's rent. They didn't lower their voices, didn't think the janitor could hear, or didn't care. "Victoria's going down tonight," one said. "Warren's got the votes." "About time. Ice Queen's had it coming." "Think she'll cry when they vote her out?" They laughed, disappeared around a corner. Marcus kept mopping, but his mind was working, a corporate coup, someone trying to remove Victoria from power. Someone named Warren, not his problem, not his concern. She'd gotten what she deserved. Except Maya had asked him this morning what a philanthropist was, had seen Victoria's name in her homework, had looked at Marcus with eyes that believed people could be good. He couldn't tell his daughter that the world was cruel, that people destroyed each other for pride and profit, that justice was a fairy tale. Not yet, not while she still believed. Marcus finished mopping, pushed his cart toward the executive offices. Victoria's office was at the far end, corner office. Best view, her name on a gold plaque that probably cost $500. The door was open. She wasn't inside. Marcus knew he should keep walking, mind his business, stay invisible the way Frank had told him. But something pulled him forward. The office was exactly what he expected. Modern furniture, expensive but cold. Desk made of glass and chrome, laptop open on the surface, photos on the credenza, Victoria at various events, shaking hands with politicians, accepting awards, smiling at cameras with a smile that never reached her eyes. One photo different from the rest. A little girl, maybe 7, blonde like Victoria, huge smile, missing front tooth, holding a stuffed rabbit, a daughter. Victoria Sterling had a daughter. Marcus stared at that photo. This child who looked happy, who had no idea her mother had destroyed lives, who probably loved her mother the way Maya loved him. His phone buzzed, text from Maya's school. Reminder, parent-teacher conference Thursday 4 p.m. Please confirm attendance. Marcus typed back, confirmed. He'd have to leave work early, lose pay he couldn't afford to lose. But Maya's education mattered more than money. He turned to leave Victoria's office, stopped. The laptop on her desk, still open, screen unlocked, a folder visible, labeled Father Investigation. Marcus shouldn't look, knew he shouldn't, but his feet moved forward anyway. His eyes found the screen, files, police reports, autopsy documents, financial records. Victoria's father had died 3 months ago. Heart attack, according to the public statement. But this folder suggested Victoria didn't believe that. Marcus's medical training, buried under 4 years of janitorial work, surfaced automatically. He scanned the autopsy report. Cause of death, cardiac arrest. But the toxicology panel showed something interesting. Elevated potassium levels. Slightly abnormal, but within range that could be natural. Except the hospital notes mentioned the body had been found 6 hours after estimated time of death. Potassium levels rise post-mortem. If you wanted to hide a potassium injection that stops someone's heart, you'd wait before calling for help. Murder disguised as natural causes. Marcus stepped back from the laptop. This wasn't his business. Victoria Sterling's problems weren't his concern. But a father had been murdered. A daughter was searching for answers. And Marcus Reed, despite everything, was still a doctor. Still someone who'd sworn to protect life. "What are you doing?" The voice cracked like a whip. Marcus spun around. Victoria Sterling stood in her office doorway, eyes blazing, face tight with fury. She'd caught him looking at her computer. And now everything was about to change. Victoria Sterling stood in the doorway of her own office like a queen discovering an intruder in her throne room. Her hand gripped the door frame hard enough that her knuckles went white. Her eyes, that ice blue that had intimidated board members and terrified employees, locked onto Marcus with laser focus. "I asked you a question," she said. Her voice was quiet, deadly. "What are you doing in my office?" Marcus straightened, slowly. His hands hung at his sides, empty, unthreatening. He'd been in worse situations, been shot at in places most Americans couldn't find on a map. But something about Victoria Sterling's controlled fury made his pulse quicken. "Cleaning," he said. "Your assistant asked me to come up before the presentation." Victoria's eyes flicked to the laptop on her desk, still open. The folder about her father's death clearly visible on the screen. "Were you looking at my computer?" "No, ma'am." It was true. He hadn't touched it, hadn't clicked anything, just read what was already displayed. But they both knew the truth wasn't what mattered. Perception was. Victoria walked into the office, closed the door behind her. The click of the latch sounded like a cell door closing. "What's your name?" she asked. "Marcus Reed." She walked to her desk, stood between him and the laptop, protective. Her fingers moved across the keyboard, closing windows, locking screens. "How long have you worked here, Marcus Reed?" 8 months. "And in those 8 months, has anyone told you that my office is off limits without explicit permission?" "Yes, ma'am." "Yet here you are." Marcus said nothing. There was nothing to say. He'd violated protocol, been caught. Whatever happened next was her decision. Victoria studied him, really looked at him for the first time, not through him the way she usually looked at service staff, at him. "You're different," she said slowly. "The way you stand, the way you speak. You don't sound like a janitor." "I'm not sure what janitors are supposed to sound like." "Defensive, apologetic, afraid of losing their job." She tilted her head. "You're not afraid." Marcus met her eyes. "I'm terrified. I have a 7-year-old daughter who needs to eat. But fear doesn't change how I speak." Something flickered across Victoria's face, too quick to identify. She glanced at the photo on her credenza, the little girl with the missing tooth. "A daughter," she repeated softly. For a moment, the ice cracked. Just a hairline fracture. Then it froze over again. "My father died 3 months ago," Victoria said. Abrupt. Testing. "Did you know that?" "I read about it in the papers. I'm sorry for your loss." The papers said heart attack. Marcus hesitated. This was dangerous ground, but something in Victoria's voice, in the way she watched him, suggested she was asking a question bigger than the words. "Yes, ma'am," he said carefully. "That's what they said." "You don't sound convinced." "It's not my place to be convinced or not convinced." "But if it were your place," Victoria pressed, "if you had an opinion, what would it be?" Marcus looked at the closed laptop, at Victoria, at the desperation she was trying to hide behind her CEO mask. "Healthy 65-year-old men don't usually have sudden cardiac arrest," he said quietly, "unless there's an underlying condition, or unless something caused it." Victoria's breath caught. "How would you know that? About underlying conditions?" Marcus realized his mistake. He'd said too much, revealed knowledge a janitor shouldn't have. "I watch a lot of medical shows," he said. It was a weak lie. They both knew it. Victoria took a step closer. "Who are you?" "Nobody, ma'am." "No." She shook her head. "Nobody doesn't speak like you. Nobody doesn't notice autopsy irregularities. Nobody doesn't—" She stopped. "Get out." Marcus didn't move. "Miss Sterling, I said get out." "If you think your father was murdered," Marcus said, the words coming out before he could stop them, "you need to be careful. Whoever did it is still out there. And if they killed once—" Victoria's hand moved so fast Marcus barely saw it. She grabbed the phone on her desk. "Security. I need someone in my office, now." Marcus turned, opened the door, walked out. Behind him he heard Victoria's voice, shaking now, the control breaking. "Who the hell are you?" He didn't answer, just pushed his cleaning cart down the hall, past the conference room where workers hung banners, past the offices of executives who'd never learn his name. But as he reached the elevator, he heard Victoria's voice again, quieter now, talking to herself. He knew about the autopsy. How did he know? The rest of the morning passed in fragments. Marcus cleaned bathrooms on the 68th floor, offices on the 69th, every task mechanical, his mind elsewhere. He'd been stupid, revealed himself. Victoria was suspicious now. She'd look into him, find his history, discover that her janitor used to be Dr. Marcus Reed, the surgeon she'd destroyed. And then what? At noon, Marcus took his lunch break in the basement break room, vending machine sandwich that tasted like cardboard. Water from the fountain. Jimmy sat across from him, eating leftover rice and beans his wife had packed. "You look stressed, man," Jimmy said. "Long morning." "Something happened?" Marcus considered telling him. Jimmy was safe, trustworthy, but dragging someone else into his problems felt wrong. "Just tired," Marcus said. His phone buzzed. Text from Maya's teacher. "Mr. Reed, Maya seems distracted today. Is everything all right at home?" Marcus typed back quickly. "Everything's fine. I'll talk to her tonight." But everything wasn't fine. Maya was struggling. Kids at school treating her differently because her father cleaned floors. And Marcus was trapped in a situation that was about to get worse. He pulled out the tissue-wrapped bundle from his pocket, unwrapped it carefully. The ring, American College of Cardiology, Dr. Marcus Reed, 2,000 lives saved, 2019, the year before Victoria Sterling destroyed him. That's beautiful. Jimmy said quietly. Special? From another life. You ever think about going back to that life? Marcus wrapped the ring up again. Can't go back to something that doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it still exists, just looks different now. Before Marcus could respond, the PA system crackled. All custodial staff report to supervisors. Event setup begins at 3 p.m. Repeat, all custodial staff report to supervisors. Tonight's presentation, the Cardio Revive announcement, $2 billion, 200 guests, and Marcus would be there, invisible in the corner, watching Victoria Sterling celebrate. The irony was suffocating. At 2:30, Frank Dominguez gathered the custodial team in the basement. Listen up, Frank barked. Tonight's the biggest event Sterling Industries has done in 5 years. Board members, investors, press, everything needs to be perfect. He looked directly at Marcus. Reed, you're on the 70th floor, conference room and hallways. But here's the rule. Once guests start arriving, you disappear. Find a corner. Stay out of sight. Do not, under any circumstances, interact with guests. Don't even make eye contact. Invisible. Understand? Marcus understood. He'd been invisible for 4 years. One more night wouldn't kill him. Yes, sir. Good, because if you screw this up, you're fired. And good luck finding another job with your background. The threat hung in the air. Frank didn't know Marcus's full history, didn't know about the medical license or the trial, but he knew Marcus had employment gaps, knew something was off about a man this educated working as a janitor, and he used that knowledge like a weapon. At 3:15, Marcus was back on the 70th floor. The conference room was transformed, lighting installed, sound system tested, catering setting up bars and food stations, waiters in black and white practicing their choreography. The banner across the back wall glowed under spotlights. Cardio Revive, the future of cardiac medicine. Marcus polished the floors, made them shine. His reflection stared back at him from the marble, a ghost of who he used to be. Excuse me. Marcus looked up. Jennifer Park, Victoria's assistant, stood there with a clipboard and a stressed expression. The custodian, right? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Sterling wants her office cleaned one more time before the event. Can you do that now? Marcus hesitated. After this morning, going back into Victoria's office felt dangerous, but he couldn't refuse. Not without questions he didn't want to answer. Of course. Victoria's office door was closed. Marcus knocked. Come in. She sat at her desk, back straight, perfect posture, but her eyes were red, like she'd been crying and tried to hide it. You wanted your office cleaned? Marcus asked. Victoria looked at him for a long moment. Close the door. Marcus did. This morning, Victoria said slowly, you said something about my father, about underlying conditions. I shouldn't have said anything. I'm sorry. No. She stood up, walked around her desk. You were right. The autopsy showed elevated potassium. The detective said it was normal post-mortem, but something felt wrong. Marcus said nothing. This was quicksand. Every word could sink him deeper. I've been trying to access my father's files, Victoria continued. He kept encrypted records. Investigation into financial irregularities at the company. 50 million missing over 5 years. He was close to finding out who. Then he died. She looked at Marcus with raw desperation. I think someone on my board killed him to cover up embezzlement, and I can't prove it because I can't access his files. Marcus understood now. She wasn't telling him this because he was a janitor. She was telling him because she had no one else. Because the people around her, the executives and board members and assistants, couldn't be trusted. Because sometimes the only person you can confide in is someone invisible. Have you gone to the police? Marcus asked. With what? A feeling? Suspicions? They already ruled it natural causes. I need proof. What about the encrypted files? Locked. I've tried 47 password combinations. Every important date, every meaningful word. Nothing works. Marcus looked at the laptop, at the encrypted folder icon on the screen. In another life, he'd been trained in military encryption. Navy years before medical school. Skills he had nearly forgotten. May I? He asked, gesturing to the laptop. Victoria hesitated, then stepped aside. Marcus sat at her desk. His fingers moved across the keyboard. Not hacking, just thinking like Richard Sterling might have thought. Your father, Marcus said. What was most important to him? The company, his legacy. Before that, before Sterling Industries, what did he care about? Victoria thought. His wife, my mother. She died when I was 8. Her name? Elizabeth. Why? Marcus typed. Elizabeth Sterling, incorrect password. Her birthday? June 14th. Marcus tried variations. Liz, June 14. Elizabeth Sterling, just 644. Incorrect, incorrect. Their anniversary? September 23rd. Marcus stared at the screen, thinking, not just about dates, about what a man would use to protect his most precious information. What was your mother's maiden name? Ashford, Elizabeth Ashford. Marcus typed slowly. Elizabeth Ashford, 92319. The folder unlocked. Victoria gasped. How did you? Marcus stood quickly, stepped away from the desk. You should look at these files alone. I shouldn't be here. But Victoria grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Wait, who are you, really? Marcus met her eyes, this woman who'd destroyed him, who'd taken his career, his wife, his life, who was now staring at him with confusion and something that looked like hope. Just someone who got lucky with a password, he said. He pulled his arm free gently, walked to the door. Marcus, he stopped. His name from her lips sounded strange, personal. Thank you, Victoria said quietly. He nodded once, left. Behind him, he heard her opening files, reading her father's investigation, learning the truth about corruption that ran deeper than she'd imagined. And Marcus knew with absolute certainty that tonight was going to get dangerous. At 6 p.m., guests began arriving. Black tie, designer dresses, jewelry that cost more than Marcus made in 5 years. They rode elevators to the 70th floor like royalty ascending to court. Marcus stood in his designated corner, behind a decorative plant, cart tucked out of sight, invisible. He watched them enter. Investors, board members, pharmaceutical executives, press, everyone who mattered in biotech and finance. And then, Victoria. She'd changed. Black dress, simple but elegant, hair down, softening her face. She looked younger, vulnerable. Nothing like the Ice Queen from this morning. She scanned the room as she entered. Her eyes found Marcus in his corner. For a moment, their gazes locked. She nodded, almost imperceptible. Acknowledgement, gratitude, connection. Then she turned away, became the CEO again, and Marcus was invisible once more. The event began at 6:30. Cocktails, networking. The sound of 200 people who believed they were important. Marcus stayed in his corner, watching, listening. He saw Warren Blackwood arrive, late 50s, silver hair, expensive suit. He moved through the crowd with the confidence of someone who owned everything. Victoria's face tightened when she saw him. Warren approached her, spoke quietly, too quiet for Marcus to hear. But Victoria's body language screamed tension. Whatever files she'd found this afternoon, whatever her father had discovered, Warren Blackwood was connected. At 7 p.m., the formal presentation began. Lights dimmed, everyone took seats. The hum of conversation died. Victoria walked to the podium. Spotlight hit her. She looked calm, composed. But Marcus saw the tremor in her hand when she gripped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria began, thank you for being here tonight. We stand at the edge of history. Her voice was strong, clear. She'd practiced this speech 1,000 times. Cardio Revive represents 5 years of research, 300 million in investment, and the hope that we can save millions of lives from heart disease. Applause rippled through the audience. Marcus watched from the shadows. This drug Victoria was celebrating, this miracle treatment. He wondered if it was real, or if it was just another lie from a company built on lies. Victoria continued, FDA approval came through last week. We begin human trials next month. And with the $2 billion in funding secured today, we're positioned to bring this drug to market within 18 months. More applause, louder now. But Marcus noticed something. Victoria's hand touched her chest. Brief, subtle, a gesture she probably didn't realize she was making. He'd seen that gesture before, in patients, in people with cardiac issues they were ignoring. She did it again, 10 minutes into her speech. Then again. Marcus straightened in his corner, medical instincts firing. At 7:45, the formal presentation ended. Break for refreshments. Waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Marcus stayed in his corner, watching Victoria. She stood near the bar, surrounded by executives, smiling, playing her role, but her hand kept returning to her chest. Then Marcus saw her reach into her purse, pull out a small pill bottle. Discreet, quick. She shook one pill into her palm, swallowed it with champagne, put the bottle away. Marcus was too far to read the label, but everything in his training screamed warning. At 8 p.m., the second half of the presentation began. Dr. Philip Chen took the stage. Charts, data, clinical trial results. Marcus half listened, his attention on Victoria sitting in the front row. Her breathing was changing. Faster, shallower, her face was losing color beneath makeup. Nobody else noticed. They were focused on Dr. Chen's presentation, on graphs showing cardio-revive success rates. But Marcus saw. He saw the jugular vein in Victoria's neck begin to distend, saw her hand press harder against her chest, saw the way she shifted in her seat, trying to find a position that eased whatever pressure was building inside her. She was crashing, and nobody knew except the janitor in the corner. Marcus took a step forward, stopped. What could he do? He wasn't a doctor anymore, wasn't anything except a man who cleaned floors. If he spoke up, they'd throw him out, call him crazy, fire him. And Maya needed him to keep this job. But a woman was dying, the woman who'd destroyed him, who'd taken everything, who deserved whatever fate delivered. Except she also had a daughter, a little girl who loved her, who'd lose her mother the same way Maya lost Sarah. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. At 8:15, disaster struck. An elderly investor near the refreshment table, Howard Mitchell, 72, swayed. His champagne glass slipped from his fingers. Crystals shattered against marble. People turned. Howard grabbed the table edge. His face was gray, sweating. "I don't feel well," he mumbled. Then his knees buckled. Someone screamed, "Call 911! I think he's having a heart attack!" Dr. Chen pushed through the crowd, knelt beside Howard, pressed fingers to his throat. Pulse weak, breathing shallow. Dr. Chen looked up, panicked. "Someone get the defibrillator." Marcus was moving before he thought, crossing the room. People parted without thinking. "Wait," he said. Dr. Chen looked up. "Who are you?" "He's not having a heart attack." "Sir, step back. This is a medical emergency." Marcus knelt on the other side of Howard, looked at the man's face, the pallor, the way his skin wasn't cyanotic despite the distress. "Look at him," Marcus said. His voice had changed, authority that 4 years of janitorial work hadn't erased. Pale but not blue, breathing rapid but rhythmic. No chest pain, no arm numbness. His pulse is weak but steady, 52 beats per minute. Dr. Chen stared. "How do you know his pulse?" "I can see the jugular pulsation." Whispers spread through the crowd. Who was this janitor? How did he know medical terminology? Marcus ignored them. "He's hypoglycemic, low blood sugar. He skipped dinner, drank champagne on an empty stomach. If you use the defibrillator, you'll stop a heart that doesn't need stopping." "That's..." Dr. Chen started to object, then looked at Howard again, uncertainty crossing his face. A young investor pushed forward, held up a glucose monitor. "I'm diabetic. I can check." She pricked Howard's finger, checked the reading. Her face went pale. 42, severe hypoglycemia. Someone brought orange juice. Howard drank. Within 60 seconds, color returned to his face. His breathing steadied. 2 minutes later, he sat up. "I feel better. What happened?" The room exhaled collectively. Dr. Chen stood slowly, staring at Marcus. "How did you know?" Marcus stood, backed away. "Lucky guess." But it wasn't luck. Everyone knew it wasn't luck. Victoria Sterling stood near the front. staring at Marcus like she was seeing him for the first time. Dr. Robert Thompson, the Columbia professor Marcus recognized from earlier, stepped forward. "That wasn't a guess," Thompson said loudly. "That was a differential diagnosis performed from 15 feet away. That's years of clinical experience." The crowd murmured, confused, curious. "Who are you?" someone called out. Marcus said nothing, just picked up Howard's dropped glass, put it on his cart, started to push toward his corner. "Wait," Victoria's voice cut through the noise. "Marcus, who are you?" The room went silent. Marcus stopped, turned. Victoria walked toward him, slow, each step deliberate. When she stood 3 feet away, close enough that he could see the fear in her eyes, she spoke quietly. "You're not a janitor." "I'm whatever the building needs me to be," Marcus said. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." They stared at each other, the CEO and the custodian, two people with secrets stacked between them like walls. Then Victoria touched her chest again, the gesture more pronounced now. Marcus saw it, saw her face go pale, saw her breathing quicken. "Ms. Sterling," he said quietly, "when did you last see a cardiologist?" Her eyes widened. "What?" "Your hand. You keep touching your chest. You're showing signs of cardiac distress. You need to sit down." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're—" Victoria swayed, caught herself on a nearby chair. The room noticed. People moved toward her. "I'm okay," she insisted. "Just need a moment." She walked back to the podium, gripped it with both hands. The microphone feed caught her breathing. Fast. Ragged. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "before we conclude tonight's—" Her hand flew to her chest. The microphone fell, crashed against the podium with a crack that echoed through the room. Victoria's legs gave out. She collapsed. The room exploded into chaos. And Marcus Reed stood frozen in his corner, watching the woman who destroyed him hit the floor, knowing he had 60 seconds to decide if he would save her life or watch her die. The choice that would define everything came down to this. Was he still a doctor, or was he just a janitor with a grudge? The answer was already moving his feet forward before his mind caught up. Because some oaths don't expire. Some promises can't be broken, even when they should be. Marcus Reed's feet moved before his mind gave permission. 35 years of life, 4 years of humiliation. One moment to choose. He pushed through the crowd, bodies pressed against him, voices shouting. Someone's elbow caught his ribs. He didn't feel it, didn't feel anything except the pull of something deeper than revenge. The oath, first, do no harm. Words burned into his soul during medical school, repeated at his graduation, whispered over every patient he'd ever touched. The promise that made him a healer instead of just a man with knowledge. Victoria Sterling lay on the stage, her white dress already stained with blood from where she'd bitten her tongue. Her chest rose and fell in rapid, desperate movements. Her eyes, usually so cold and controlled, rolled back until only whites showed. Dr. Philip Chen knelt beside her, his hands positioned over her sternum, preparing to compress. "Stop," Marcus said. Chen looked up, anger flashing across his face. "Not now, she's dying. If you compress her chest, you'll kill her." Security guards appeared, 2 men in black suits, hands reaching for Marcus's arms. Marcus raised his voice, projected it across the room with authority he'd buried for 4 years. "She's not in cardiac arrest. Her heart is beating 140 times per minute. Irregular rhythm. Look at her jugular vein. See the distension?" Dr. Thompson pushed to the front, the Columbia professor. He stared at Victoria's neck, then at Marcus. "He's right," Thompson said. "JVP is elevated. This isn't arrest." Marcus continued, his training taking over like muscle memory. "She's in acute decompensated heart failure. Right ventricle failing. If you do CPR, you'll rupture her already stressed ventricle. The pressure will kill her instantly." The room had gone silent, 200 people holding their breath. Chen's hands hovered over Victoria, uncertain now. "Then what do we do?" Marcus climbed the 3 steps to the stage, his worn work boots against marble that cost more per square foot than he made in a day. He knelt beside Victoria. This close, he could see everything. The makeup not quite hiding the shadows under her eyes, the slight tremor in her fingers, the way her lips had a blue tinge that meant oxygen wasn't reaching her tissues fast enough. She was dying. Minutes, not hours. Victoria's eyes found his face. Recognition sparked through the pain. "Marcus?" she whispered, blood on her teeth. "Please." Everyone heard it. The CEO knew the janitor's name. "Please make it fast," Victoria continued, tears cutting through her makeup. "I deserve this." She thought he would kill her, thought this was revenge, thought that after everything she'd done, justice had finally arrived in the form of the man she'd destroyed. Marcus looked down at her, at this woman who'd forged evidence, paid witnesses to lie, taken his license, his career, his wife. 4 years of suffering traced back to her ambition and pride. He could walk away, let her die, call it fate, call it karma, call it anything except murder because he hadn't caused her heart failure. He could let nature take its course, but his hands were already moving, stripping off the rubber cleaning gloves, letting them fall to the floor like yellow flowers. His fingers found her carotid artery, pressed gently, counted against his watch. The room held its breath. "Everyone back," Marcus said quietly. 3 feet of clearance. "Someone tell the ambulance this is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy with acute heart failure. They need IV furosemide and nitroglycerin, and I need complete silence." No one moved. Marcus looked up. His eyes swept across board members and billionaires and people who'd never looked at him twice. Something in his gaze made them step backward. Authority, knowledge, power that had nothing to do with money or position. The power of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. "Now," Marcus said. They moved. Marcus turned back to Victoria, placed his hands on her chest. Not to compress, to feel. His fingers, roughened by cleaning chemicals, scarred by years of work that should have been beneath him, moved with surgical precision. "Apex beat displaced laterally," he murmured. 2 centimeters. Left ventricular hypertrophy confirmed. Dr. Chen watched, transfixed. "How are you?" "Quiet," Marcus said. Not harsh, just focused. His hands moved to Victoria's neck, assessed the jugular vein distension, 8 centimeters above the sternal angle. Textbook presentation of right heart failure. "Pulse 140, Marcus said. "Thready, irregular, blood pressure approximately 80/50. She's in compensated shock." He tore off his uniform shirt, wadded it into a makeshift pillow, placed it gently under Victoria's head, then grabbed someone's briefcase, elevated her legs. "Trendelenburg position," Marcus explained to no one and everyone, "increases venous return to the heart." Victoria's breathing was rapid, panicked, each breath a gasp. Marcus leaned close, spoke directly to her, voice calm, steady, the voice he'd used with 1,000 patients in 1,000 emergencies. "Victoria, listen to me. You're in heart failure, but your heart is still beating. I need you to breathe with me. In through your nose. Count of 4. Her terrified eyes locked onto his. "In, 2, 3, 4, hold. Out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Victoria tried to follow, failed, gasped. "Again," Marcus said. "With me. In, 2, 3, 4. This time she managed it. Her breathing began to slow, not much, but enough. Color started returning to her face. Just slightly. Dr. Thompson's voice rang out across the silent room. "Ladies and gentlemen, I need to tell you something." Every head turned. Thompson pointed at Marcus. "This man is not a janitor. His name is Dr. Marcus Reed. He's one of the greatest cardiothoracic surgeons this country has ever produced." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones appeared, people typing, searching. A young investor found an article. "Holy, it's true. Dr. Marcus Reed, chief of cardiothoracic surgery at Mount Sinai. But it says his license was revoked in Twainpwim for fraud and accepting bribes." All eyes turned to Marcus, then to Victoria. An executive near the stage, the one who'd made jokes about the Ice Queen earlier, went pale. "Wait, Reed? That's the name Victoria mentioned. The doctor she exposed." The pieces were falling into place. The crowd understanding. The janitor was the man Victoria had destroyed, and now he was saving her life. Victoria heard everything. Tears streamed down her face. She tried to speak. "Don't talk," Marcus said. "Save your energy." No, her voice strangled. They need to know. Marcus shook his head. Victoria, please. She grabbed his hand, weak, desperate. Let me say this before I die. The room leaned in, silent as a grave. Victoria's voice shook. 4 years ago, Marcus refused to work for me, said my contracts were exploitative. She gasped for air. Marcus counted her breaths but didn't stop her. I was angry, wanted his reputation to legitimize Sterling Industries. So more tears. I forged emails, made it look like he took bribes from competitors. Someone in the crowd gasped. I paid 2 employees to testify against him. Lies. All lies. Victoria's hand clutched Marcus's arm. I destroyed his medical license, his career, his family, everything. Her voice broke completely. I took everything from a good man because of my ego, my greed. The room was absolutely silent. And now, Victoria whispered, the only person who can save my life is the man I destroyed. She looked up at Marcus, tears flowing freely. You have every right to let me die. I deserve it. Marcus stared down at her. 4 years of pain visible in his eyes for just a moment. Then his face softened. I'm not a janitor, Victoria, he said quietly. And I'm not a vengeful man. I'm a doctor. And doctors don't choose who lives or dies based on personal grudges. He adjusted the makeshift pillow under her head. I took an oath 30 years ago to do no harm, to heal the sick. That oath doesn't expire because someone wronged me. His voice carried across the silent room. You tried to destroy Marcus Reed, the doctor, but you couldn't, because being a doctor isn't a title. It's who I am at my core. He looked at the crowd. You can take my license, my call, my reputation, but you can't take my ability to save lives. From Marcus's shirt pocket, something fell. A small tissue-wrapped object hit the floor. Jennifer Park picked it up, unwrapped it. A gold ring gleamed in the stage lights. She read the inscription aloud. American College of Cardiology, Dr. Marcus Reed, 2,000 lives saved, 2019. The room exploded in shocked whispers. 2,000 lives. And he'd been cleaning toilets. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Victoria looked at Marcus, her savior and her victim. I'll tell them everything, she whispered. I'll clear your name. I promise. Marcus nodded once. Just stay alive long enough to do it. The ambulance was 3 minutes away, but Victoria's heart was failing faster. Paramedics burst through the conference room doors at 8:42, equipment rattling on the gurney. The lead paramedic, Rodriguez, mid-30s, Latino, competent eyes, took in the scene instantly. He knelt beside Victoria. What have we got? Marcus spoke before Dr. Chen could answer, his voice clear, professional, every word precise. 32-year-old female, known hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, previously undiagnosed, acute decompensated heart failure, pulse 132, irregular, blood pressure approximately 85/55, JVP elevated. Peripheral edema present. She's been taking Cardio Revive, experimental cardiac drug, 40 milligrams twice daily for approximately 6 months. Drug-induced ventricular arrhythmia. Rodriguez looked up sharply. Are you her physician? Pause. The weight of 4 years in that silence. I was, Marcus said. What's your name? Dr. Marcus Reed. The younger paramedic, Sarah, white woman with red hair, stared. Wait, the Dr. Reed from Mount Sinai? Marcus didn't answer. Rodriguez was already moving, placing oxygen on Victoria, starting an IV line. We need to transport immediately. Mount Sinai's closest, 12 minutes. Marcus stood. I'm coming with you. Rodriguez hesitated, looking at Marcus's janitor uniform. Are you currently licensed? The question hung in the air, heavy, damning. Dr. Chen stepped forward. His license was revoked, but he just saved her life. She needs him. Rodriguez made a decision. Get in. They loaded Victoria onto the gurney. Marcus climbed into the ambulance. The doors slammed shut. Inside, screaming through Manhattan streets, sirens wailing. Marcus monitored Victoria's vital signs manually. His fingers never left her pulse. Pulse dropping, 110, she's compensating. Sarah radioed ahead. Mount Sinai, we're incoming with acute HCM crisis, patient critical, ETA 9 minutes. Victoria's eyes found Marcus's face. Don't leave me. I won't. They won't let you treat me. I know. Then how? Marcus looked at her. This woman who'd taken everything, who was now trusting him with her life. I'll find a way. Back at Sterling Tower, Jennifer Park pulled out her phone, opened Twitter. Her hands shook as she typed. Breaking. Janitor who saved Sterling CEO is actually Dr. Marcus Reed, destroyed by false accusations 4 years ago. This is the man who just saved the woman who ruined him. She uploaded the video she'd recorded. 3 minutes of Marcus treating Victoria. Victoria's confession. The gold ring. Posted it. Within 30 seconds, 1,000 views. 2 minutes, 10,000. By the time the ambulance reached Mount Sinai, 50,000 people had watched Victoria Sterling confess to destroying an innocent man, and the number was climbing. The ambulance pulled into Mount Sinai's emergency bay at 8:54 p.m. Dr. Sarah Rodriguez waited, 40 years old, attending cardiologist, 15 years at Mount Sinai. She'd heard the radio call, acute HCM crisis, critical. What she wasn't prepared for was Marcus Reed climbing out of the ambulance in a janitor's uniform. Who are you? She asked. Marcus Reed. I stabilized her at the scene. De Rodriguez's face changed, recognition, then hardness. You're not licensed. Step away from the patient. De Rodriguez, she has. I said step away. Security. Victoria, being wheeled past on the gurney, reached out weakly. Please let him help. De Rodriguez ignored her, shouted orders. Get her to cardiac ICU stat. Full echo, cardiac enzymes, continuous monitoring. They rushed Victoria through the doors. Marcus tried to follow. A security guard, built like a linebacker, blocked his path. Sir, you need to stay here. She needs me. You're not authorized. Dr. Thompson appeared. He'd followed in a taxi. Let him in. I'll take responsibility. The guard looked uncertain. Dr. Thompson pulled out his hospital ID. I'm faculty here, cardiology department. Let him through. The guard stepped aside. They ran down the corridor, reached the ICU just as Victoria was transferred to a bed. Monitors beeped frantically. Her heart rate spiked on screen. 160, 170. Dr. Rodriguez worked quickly, professionally. Get me an echo now. Someone page cardiothoracic surgery. She might need emergency intervention. Marcus stood outside the glass partition, watching, his hands clenched into fists. The echo technician arrived, began the ultrasound. The image appeared on screen. Victoria's heart struggling, left ventricle massively hypertrophied, septum dangerously thickened. Dr. Rodriguez frowned. Severe HCM with LVOT obstruction. How did we miss this? A nurse spoke up. She wasn't a patient here. First admission. Marcus spoke through the glass. She hid it, probably diagnosed years ago, refused treatment, didn't want it on her medical record, would have looked weak. Glanced at him, annoyed. Who let him in here? Dr. Thompson stepped forward. I did, and you should listen to him. He knows her case better than anyone. He doesn't have a license. He has knowledge. Use it. Before Dr. Rodriguez could respond, the monitors shrieked. Victoria's heart rate spiked. 190, then dropped precipitously. 140, 110, 80. Her eyes rolled back. The monitor flatlined. Asystole. A nurse shouted, She's coding! Rodriguez grabbed the crash cart. Start compressions. Charge to 200. Marcus's voice cut through. Urgent. Don't shock a systole. Dr. Rodriguez ignored him. Position the paddles. Clear. If you shock a flat line, you'll fry her heart, Marcus shouted. It's a non-shockable rhythm. You need epinephrine first. 1 milligram IV push. Then 2 minutes of compressions to circulate it. Dr. Rodriguez hesitated, paddles hovering. The nurse doing compressions looked up. Dr. Rodriguez? A split-second decision. Dr. Rodriguez lowered the paddles. Give epi, 1 milligram IV push. The nurse slammed the syringe into Victoria's IV line. Continue high-quality CPR, Dr. Rodriguez ordered. 2 minutes. The nurse compressed, counting aloud. 1, 2, 3, 4. Marcus watched through the glass, silently counting with her. The 2 minutes felt like 2 hours. 30 seconds, nothing. 60 seconds, still flat. 90 seconds, no change. Eduardo Rodriguez, sweating. The nurse's arms shaking from exertion. 110 seconds. 120 seconds. Check rhythm, Dr. Rodriguez ordered. The nurse stopped compressions. Everyone stared at the monitor. One beat, another. Sinus rhythm. Slow. But there. "We have a pulse," the nurse exclaimed. The ICU erupted, relieved chaos. Catherine stable. Barely. De Rodriguez stepped out of the ICU, pulled Marcus aside. Her face showed the war inside her. "You just saved my patient, again." Her voice quiet. "I've been practicing 15 years. I almost killed her." Marcus shook his head. "You followed protocol. Epi works in most cases. With drug-induced HCM crisis, the heart's already irritable. You made the right call when it mattered." But Rodriguez studied his face. "How many cardiac arrests have you managed?" "Over 300. She took a breath. "Victoria is stable, but barely. She needs surgery, mitral valve repair, and septal myectomy. Without it, she'll arrest again within 24 hours. Marcus nodded. "I know. That's a 6-hour surgery, extremely complex. I'd need my best team." Pause. "I'd need someone who's done it before." Silence stretched between them. "How many times have you performed septal myectomy?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. 63 times, 58 successful outcomes. That's 92% success rate. That's world class." Marcus said nothing. Dr. Rodriguez's face showed her internal struggle. "If you still had your license, I'd ask you to scrub in. But you don't, and I could lose mine just for having this conversation." "I know." They stood in silence. Then footsteps. A man in an expensive suit appeared. Richard Caldwell, 50s, hospital administrator. Bureaucrat eyes. "Dr. Rodriguez, I heard we have an unlicensed individual providing medical care. Is this true?" Dr. Rodriguez straightened. "Mr. Caldwell, Dr. Reed saved this patient's life. Twice. I don't care if he's Jesus Christ. He's unlicensed. Get him out of this ICU immediately or you're both facing suspension." Victoria in her bed tried to sit up. Failed. "You throw him out, I'd day, and this hospital gets sued into oblivion." Caldwell's face reddened. "Are you threatening?" "I'm stating facts. This man is the only one who can save me. Let him work or my lawyers will destroy you." Dr. Thompson entered. "Mr. Caldwell, before you make a terrible mistake, know this. That video of Dr. Reed saving Ms. Sterling has 50,000 views already. Comments are demanding justice. If this hospital prevents him from treating her, the PR nightmare will bury you." Caldwell pulled out his phone. Checked Twitter. Justice for Reed was trending. "Let him operate," one comment read. 10,000 likes. "This hospital is evil if they stop him," said another. 8,000 likes. Thousands of similar messages. Caldwell's face went pale. Dr. Thompson pressed. "There's a loophole. Dr. Reed doesn't perform the surgery. You do, Dr. Rodriguez. Dr. Reed is present as a medical consultant, providing verbal guidance only. Technically, he's not practicing the medicine. He's consulting." Caldwell's eyes narrowed. "That's a legal gray area. Gray is better than black, and that woman doesn't have time for ethics committees." Silence. Caldwell, defeated. "Fine, but if this goes wrong, I never approved it." He left. Dr. Rodriguez looked at Marcus. "I'll do the surgery. You guide me through every step." Marcus nodded. "When?" "Now. She doesn't have time to wait." Operating room 3, 9:45 p.m. Dr. Rodriguez scrubbed in with her team. Anesthesiologist began putting Victoria under. Marcus stood behind glass, outside the sterile field. He couldn't enter, couldn't touch, couldn't physically help. All he had was his voice. Victoria, drifting under sedation, looked toward him one last time. "Thank you," she mouthed. The anesthesia took her. Marcus put on a headset. His voice would feed directly into the OR. Dr. Rodriguez stood over Victoria's unconscious body, scalpel in hand. She looked at the glass partition where Marcus stood. Dr. Reed, I'm ready. Marcus took a breath. 4 years away from the operating room. 4 years of scrubbing toilets. Now he had to perform the most difficult surgery of his career without touching the patient. Make your incision at the fourth intercostal space, Marcus said calmly. Mid-clavicular line. Steady hand. This is where we begin. The surgery began. For 6 hours, Marcus guided every movement. Dr. Rodriguez's hands performed the surgery, but Marcus's mind orchestrated it. Good. Now open the pericardium. You'll see the hypertrophied septum, approximately 2.8 centimeters thick. We need to resect 1.2 centimeters. Rodriguez worked, her confidence growing with each instruction. At midnight, a complication, bleeding from the left ventricle. Dr. Reed, I can't stop it. Panic in her voice. Marcus remained calm. Breathe. Apply direct pressure with gauze. 30 seconds. The tissue is fragile. Don't over-suture or you'll tear it more. She did. 30 seconds felt eternal. The bleeding stopped. You did it, Marcus said. Keep going. At 3 a.m., the critical moment. Resecting the thickened septum. One wrong move could kill Victoria instantly. Marcus guided Dr. Rodriguez's hands like a conductor leading an orchestra. Millimeter by millimeter. Precise. Perfect. Dr. Rodriguez's hands moved, trembling slightly, but following every instruction. The tissue was carefully removed, each cut precise. That's it, Marcus said. Little more. Good, stop there. At 4:30 a.m., the final suture. Close her up, Marcus said softly. You did beautifully. Dr. Rodriguez stepped back, exhausted, trembling. No, we did beautifully. 5:15 a.m., Victoria was wheeled to recovery, stable, vital signs strong. Dr. Rodriguez emerged from the OR, pulled off her mask, saw Marcus still standing behind the glass, exactly where he'd been for 6 hours. That was the most incredible surgical guidance I've ever experienced, she said. You just performed a 6-hour surgery without touching the patient. Marcus smiled faintly. You did the work. No, you saved her, again. In the waiting room, someone else had arrived during the surgery. A little girl, 7 years old, black hair and braids, clutching a teddy bear. Maya Reed. Mrs. Rodriguez from downstairs had brought her when Marcus texted that he'd be at the hospital all night. She saw her father emerge, ran to him. Daddy! Marcus caught her, lifted her, held her tight. Hi, baby girl. Mrs. Rodriguez said you were helping someone. Are you a doctor again? Marcus looked down at his daughter, this child who'd kept him alive for 4 years, who'd given him reason to wake up every morning. I've always been a doctor, princess, even when I wasn't allowed to be one. 10 a.m. Victoria woke in the ICU, groggy, disoriented, breathing tube removed. Marcus sat in a chair beside her bed. I'm alive, she croaked, voice hoarse. Marcus nodded. Surgery went well. 6 weeks recovery. Tears streamed down Victoria's face. Marcus, I owe you everything. My life. 3 times over. I'll spend the rest of my life making this right. Marcus stood. Just tell the truth. That's all I ask. He walked toward the door. Marcus? He stopped. Why did you save me? After everything I did? Marcus looked back. Because that's who I am. You tried to destroy that. You failed. He left. Behind him, Victoria wept. Day 1 after surgery, Jennifer Park's article went viral. Bloomberg, CNN, Fox News, every major outlet picked it up. The janitor who saved his enemy, Dr. Marcus Reed, destroyed by lies, then proved he's still a hero. 5 million views by noon, 10 million by evening. The video played everywhere. Marcus kneeling beside Victoria, his hands moving with surgical precision. Victoria's confession, the room silent. Comments flooded in. This man cleaned toilets and never lost his dignity. He saved the woman who destroyed him. That's grace. 2,000 lives saved and they made him a janitor. This is everything wrong with our system. If this doesn't restore your faith in humanity, nothing will. Day 3. Victoria, propped up in her hospital bed, recorded a video. Her lawyer present, her publicist. But this wasn't PR, this was truth. My name is Victoria Sterling. 4 years ago, I committed fraud. Her voice shook. I forged evidence to destroy Dr. Marcus Reed because he refused my exploitative contract. I took everything from a brilliant physician. I destroyed a good man because of greed. Tears streaming. I'm resigning as CEO of Sterling Industries. I'm cooperating with authorities. I will spend the rest of my life atoning. 15 million views in 24 hours. Sterling stock plummeted 40%. 5 executives resigned. The FDA launched an investigation into Cardio Revive. Found it dangerous for patients with pre-existing conditions. Day 5. The New York State Medical Board held an emergency session. They called Marcus. He sat in the same conference room where they'd revoked his license. Same fluorescent lights, same cheap chairs, but everything was different. The chairwoman looked at him with something like shame. Dr. Reed, after thorough investigation, we've determined you were wrongfully accused. Evidence was fabricated. Testimony was coerced. Your medical license is fully restored, effective immediately. She handed him a new license. His hands shook taking it. Dr. Rodriguez stood beside him. Stepped to the microphone. Mount Sinai Hospital offers Dr. Reed the position of attending cardiothoracic surgeon, effective immediately. Marcus looked up, surprised. We need you, Dr. Rodriguez said. The patients need you. Marcus's voice was rough. I accept. Day 7, Warren Blackwood was arrested, charged with embezzlement and murder. Richard Sterling's encrypted files provided all the evidence needed. $50 million. 5 years of theft. 1 murder to cover it up. The trial would take months, but justice was coming. Day 10. Marcus reported to his final shift as a janitor. He owed Frank Dominguez 2 weeks' notice. He'd fulfill it. Frank didn't speak to him, didn't apologize, just handed him his final paycheck and walked away. Employees lined the hallways as Marcus pushed his cart for the last time. They applauded. On the 70th floor, he took off the blue uniform, pulled out a white doctor's coat from his locker. His name embroidered on the chest. Dr. Marcus Reed, MD, cardiothoracic surgery. He put it on, walked to the elevator. The same white executive who'd refused to ride with the janitor stood inside. Recognition, fear, shame crossing his face. Horatio. Reed, please come in. Marcus stepped in, said nothing. I'm sorry, the man whispered. Marcus said nothing. The doors closed. He was no longer invisible. Mount Sinai Hospital, operating room 3. Marcus stood over an open chest cavity, performing a complex bypass. 8 hours in, his hands moved with precision. No rust, no hesitation. The surgery succeeded. The patient, a retired firefighter given 2 weeks to live, would recover. Marcus stepped out. The man's family waited. His wife collapsed in tears, hugged Marcus. You saved him. Marcus smiled gently. This is what I do. Down the hall in the hospital's free clinic, Victoria Sterling volunteered. She'd resigned as CEO, given up her penthouse, moved to a modest apartment in Brooklyn, close to the clinic. She worked 5 days a week, helping patients fill out Medicaid forms, translating medical jargon, holding hands during scary diagnoses. Her hands, once manicured for boardrooms, now doing humble work. A homeless veteran sat across from her. Thank you, ma'am. You're very kind. Victoria's eyes watered slightly. It's my privilege to help. The clinic supervisor approached. Victoria, we need help in exam room 2. Of course. She rose, followed. At the hallway intersection, Marcus walked past, saw her through the window. Their eyes met. Victoria stepped into the hallway. They stood 10 feet apart. The bypass today went well, Victoria said. Congratulations. Marcus nodded. Thank you. Awkward silence. So much history, so much pain, so much forgiveness. I know I can never undo what I did, Victoria said quietly, but I'm trying every day. I see that. Does it help, what I'm doing? Marcus considered. You're asking if your penance matters? Victoria nodded. It matters because you're actually helping people, not because it absolves you. The people you help don't care about your past. They care that you're here now. Victoria nodded. Thank you for that. Marcus started to walk away. Stopped. Victoria, there's someone I want you to meet. He pulled out his phone, texted. 2 minutes later, footsteps, small feet running. Maya appeared, 7 years old, backpack bouncing. She saw Marcus and ran to him. "Daddy!" Marcus lifted her, spun her around, set her down. "Maya, this is Ms. Sterling. She works at the clinic." Maya studied Victoria with serious eyes. "You're the lady Daddy saved." Victoria knelt down, eye level with the child. "Yes, your daddy saved my life." "He's really good at that," Maya said. "He saves people all the time." "I know," Victoria whispered. "He's a hero." From around the corner, another small voice. "Mommy!" A little girl appeared, 7 years old, blonde, missing front tooth, the girl from Victoria's office photo. Destiny. She ran to Victoria. "Mrs. Chen said you were here." Victoria hugged her daughter. "I'm here, baby. Just working." Destiny noticed Maya. "Hi, I'm Destiny." "I'm Maya." The two girls stared at each other, then with the easy friendship of children, smiled. "Want to see the cafeteria?" Destiny asked. "They have ice cream." Maya looked at Marcus. He nodded. The girls ran off together. Laughing, already best friends, Marcus and Victoria stood in the hallway, watching their daughters disappear around the corner. "They don't know," Victoria said softly. "Don't know what I did to you." "No," Marcus agreed, "and maybe they never need to. That's our burden, not theirs." Victoria wiped her eyes. "How do you do it? Forgive?" Marcus thought about Sarah, about the funeral in the rain, about 4 years of toilets and humiliation and keeping going for Maya. "I didn't forgive for you," he said quietly. "I forgave for me, for Maya, because carrying hate was poisoning me, and my daughter deserved a father who wasn't bitter." He looked at Victoria. "You destroyed my career, but you didn't destroy my ability to love, to heal, to be a father. Those things were always mine. You just made me prove it." Victoria's tears fell freely now. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "No," Marcus said, "you don't. But I gave it anyway, not because you earned it, because I needed to be free." Laughter echoed from the cafeteria. Maya and Destiny, already inseparable. "Your daughter's beautiful," Marcus said. "So is yours." They stood in silence. Two people who'd hurt each other, who'd been hurt, who were learning what healing actually meant. "Dr. Reed?" A nurse appeared. "Your next patient is here, the little boy with the valve defect." Marcus nodded. "On my way." He started to leave. "Marcus?" He turned. "Thank you," Victoria said, "for everything, for saving me, for forgiving me, for showing me what grace actually looks like." Marcus smiled, genuine. "You're welcome." He walked toward the patient rooms, white coat flowing, stethoscope around his neck. Dr. Marcus Reed, healer. Victoria watched him go, then turned back to the clinic, to the homeless veteran waiting, to the work of atonement that had no end. In the cafeteria, Maya and Destiny sat together, ice cream melting in bowls. "My daddy's a doctor," Maya said. "My mommy used to be mean," Destiny said, "but she's nice now." "That's good." "Yeah." They ate their ice cream, two little girls who didn't care about the past, who only knew that their parents were good people doing good work. And maybe that was enough. Marcus's office at Mount Sinai, awards on the walls again, photos of patients who'd sent thank you cards, a plaque, Dr. Marcus Reed, 2,247 lives saved. His phone rang, unknown number. "Dr. Reed, this is Mount Sinai Administration. We'd like to discuss the new pediatric cardiac wing. Your name came up as potential director." Marcus looked at the photo on his desk. Sarah, Maya, the three of them together. "I'm honored," he said. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. We'll send details." Knock on his door. Victoria stood there. Different now. Hair simpler, clothes modest, smile genuine. "Sorry to interrupt. I was picking up Destiny from the pediatric ward. She volunteers now, reading to the kids." Marcus smiled. "Maya too. They coordinate schedules." Victoria hesitated. "Can I come in?" Marcus gestured to the visitor's chair. She sat, looked at the photos on his walls, the awards, the life he'd rebuilt. "I got an offer," Victoria said, from a pharmaceutical ethics board. They want me to consult, help identify fraud and corruption. That's good. It's ironic. It's fitting. Victoria laughed, sad. Using my experience as a criminal to catch criminals. Using your experience as someone who learned, who changed. There's a difference. She looked at him. You really believe people can change? I believe you did. Silence. Not uncomfortable. Just two people who traveled a long road together. The girls want a play date this weekend, Victoria said. My apartment, pizza, movies, normal kid stuff. Maya would love that. You could come if you want, stay, help supervise, or we could just... She trailed off, uncertain. Marcus understood what she wasn't saying, what maybe they were both starting to feel, something beyond forgiveness, beyond friendship, something neither of them expected. I'll come, Marcus said carefully. For Maya. For Maya, Victoria agreed, but they both knew it was becoming more than that. Victoria's apartment, small, clean, photos of destiny on the walls, no awards, no luxury, just a home. Maya and Destiny in the living room, building a fort out of couch cushions. Laughing, Marcus and Victoria in the kitchen, making pizza from scratch, flour on their hands, comfortable silence. I never thought I'd be here, Victoria said quietly, in a small apartment, making pizza, happy. Happiness doesn't come from the size of the apartment. I know that now. She looked at him. I had everything 4 years ago. Corner office, power, money. I was miserable. Now I have nothing. And I'm healing, Marcus finished. Yeah. They work side by side, not touching, but close. Marcus, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever hate me, even for a moment, for what I took? Marcus stopped kneading dough, considered the question honestly. Sometimes, he admitted, when I see Maya struggle, when I remember Sarah's funeral, when I think about the years I lost. Yes, sometimes I hate what you did. Victoria's face fell. But, Marcus continued, I don't hate you, because the woman who did those things isn't the woman standing in this kitchen. You're not the same person. Neither are you. No, Marcus agreed. We're both different, both better, both scarred, but maybe that's okay. From the living room, Maya's voice, Daddy, Miss Sterling, come see our fort. They walked in. The girls had built an elaborate structure, blankets draped over chairs, pillows as walls, flashlights inside creating a warm glow. It's beautiful, Marcus said. Come inside, Destiny urged. So they did, two adults crawling into a blanket fort built by 7-year-olds, sitting cross-legged on the floor, flashlights casting shadows, Maya and Destiny between them, all four together in a small space. Tell us a story, Daddy, Maya said. Marcus thought. Once upon a time, there was a doctor who forgot how to help people. Why did he forget? Destiny asked. Because someone hurt him, took away his ability to work. He was very sad. That's not a happy story, Maya said. Wait, Marcus continued. The doctor had a daughter, and his daughter reminded him that being a doctor wasn't about having permission. It was about caring, about helping, about not giving up. Did he become a doctor again? Destiny asked. Yes. And he learned that sometimes the worst things that happen to us teach us the most important lessons. Like what? Maya pressed. Like forgiveness, like strength, like love. The girls absorbed this. Then Destiny spoke. My mommy learned too, she said. She was mean before. She told me, but she's not mean anymore. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. No, Marcus said gently. She's not mean anymore. She learned, and learning is brave. They sat in the blanket fort, 4 people who shouldn't fit together, who'd been broken in different ways, who were learning what family could mean when you built it from forgiveness instead of blood. Can we do this every weekend? Maya asked. Marcus looked at Victoria, a question in his eyes. She nodded. I'd like that. Me too, Destiny said. So they did, 2 years later. Marcus and Victoria sat on a park bench, Central Park, autumn leaves falling like memories around them. Maya and Destiny played on the swings, 10 years old now, inseparable. They're talking about a formal award, Victoria said. For you, from the medical board, recognition for saving 200 lives since your reinstatement. I don't need an award. I know, but you deserve one. Marcus watched the girls. I have everything I need. Victoria's hand moved across the bench, closer to his, not quite touching. Marcus, can I ask you something? Always. When you saved me that night, when you made the choice, what were you thinking? Marcus remembered the stage, Victoria dying, the decision. I was thinking about Maya, about what kind of father I wanted to be, what kind of man I wanted her to see. He turned to Victoria, and I was thinking about Sarah, about her voice in my head saying, be who you are, not who they made you. Your wife sounds amazing. She was. Silence. Then Victoria's hand finally touched his. Gentle. Tentative. Is this okay? She asked. Marcus looked at their hands. Black and white. Janitor and CEO. Victim and perpetrator. All those labels falling away until there were just two people who'd survived hell and found each other on the other side. Yeah, Marcus said. It's okay. They sat like that, watching their daughters play. Two people who'd hurt each other, learning what love meant when it grew from ashes instead of flowers. Maya ran over. Daddy, can Destiny spend the night? If her mom says yes. Mom, does Destiny called? Victoria looked at Marcus, a question bigger than a sleepover. Marcus smiled. Our place is bigger. You could come too, if you want. We could all be a family? Victoria finished. Something like that. Victoria squeezed his hand. I'd like that very much. So they did. Four people who shouldn't work, who had every reason to hate each other, who chose forgiveness instead. And from forgiveness grew something neither of them expected. Love, healing, home. Not perfect, never perfect. Both of them carried scars that would never fully fade. But together they were whole. 5 years after that night on the stage, Marcus Reed, 40 years old, stood in front of 300 medical students at Columbia. When someone takes everything from you, he said, you have two choices: become bitter or become better. The students listened, rapt. I lost my career, my wife, my dignity. I spent 4 years cleaning toilets in the building where I should have been saving lives. And I was angry. God, I was angry. He paused. But anger is poison. It destroys from the inside. So I had to choose. Let Victoria Sterling's lies define me, or define myself. You all know what happened. You've seen the videos. But here's what you haven't seen. On the screen behind him, photos appeared. Marcus and Victoria at a free clinic opening. Ribbon cutting. Maya and Destiny, teenagers now, volunteering at Mount Sinai. Marcus receiving the American Medical Association's Award for Ethical Excellence. Victoria testifying before Congress about pharmaceutical reform. Forgiveness isn't forgetting, Marcus said. It's not saying what happened and was okay. It's releasing the poison so you can live. A student raised her hand. Dr. Reed, are you and Ms. Sterling? Marcus smiled. That's personal. But yes, we're together. We're raising our daughters together, and we're building something good from something terrible. Another student. How did you trust her again? I didn't. Not at first. Trust is built, slowly, through actions, not words. She spent 5 years proving she'd changed, showing me through service and humility and dedication to others. Eventually, I believed her. He looked out at the young faces, future doctors, future healers. You'll all face injustice in your careers. Someone will wrong you, hurt you, try to destroy you. And in that moment, you'll have a choice: revenge or healing, hate or love, bitterness or growth. I chose healing, and it saved my life. And the lecture ended. Students applauded. Marcus packed his notes. Victoria waited outside the lecture hall. She'd come to hear him speak. Did it every time. You were brilliant, she said. I just told the truth. They walked out together, hand in hand. Maya and Destiny met them outside. Both 16 now, both applying to medical school. Can we go to the clinic? Maya asked. It's our volunteer day. Of course, Marcus said. 4 of them walked through Columbia campus, a family built from forgiveness, from second chances, from the belief that people could change if they truly wanted to. Marcus looked at Victoria, this woman who'd destroyed him, who'd become his partner, his love. his proof that redemption was possible. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For showing me that the worst thing that happened to me could become the best thing. Because it led me here, to this. To us." Victoria stopped walking, kissed him, gentle, grateful. "No," she whispered. "Thank you for saving my life in every way possible." Maya and Destiny groaned. "Gross. Parent kissing." They all laughed, walked on together. Four lives intersecting in the most unlikely way. Four hearts healing. Four people proving that justice and mercy could coexist. That forgiveness was stronger than revenge. That love could grow from the darkest soil. Dr. Marcus Reed had saved 2,247 lives. But the most important save was the one he made for himself. When he chose to be who he was meant to be. Not despite what happened, but because of it. TM. The end. Word count, 8,012.